I just created a page where I featured the letters that I've recently written to my men. And it's basically about the Gail commandments. And I'm sensing some feelings right now, some resentment from some of my men. And I could be wrong, but I don't think it's the ones that I've had all along, like Brent and Terrance, but like maybe some that are kind of borderline Gail's men going their own way. God gave my men vagina butts at the very beginning of 2019. And I guess basically it was my vagina in their rectum. Now, I'm not sure why Jesus did that. And it seems to have made some of my men really evil. But I think the reason Jesus did it was because he knew it would bring out a spiritual condition that a lot of them had that needed to be exposed. And that is, I believe a lot of the men have made an idol out of sex. And they thought, before they had the vagina butts, they had the sex dummies. And Jesus actually made the sex dummies for them. You might say, why would Jesus make sex dummies for your men? Jesus doesn't believe in polygamy, and that is correct. He does not believe in polygamy. And I've often pondered over this because, you read the Bible and there are laws in there against polygamy. He usually doesn't believe in polygamy, though he did say he was cool with David having a lot of wives. I think my men have misunderstood Jesus, and they've seen the fact that Jesus said that in the millennium, I will be making love to all of the men on my marriage list as well as to Brent Spiner. And we asked Jesus why it was okay with him, and Jesus said because Brent felt that was how the best way to reward the men for sacrificing for me and Jesus and for being on my marriage list. And yes, I can see that. But it seems it seems that a lot of these men feel that when it comes time for me to marry, that I am obligated to have a honeymoon with I don't know how many of them there are, all 100 of them at once. I always thought you men understood that the marriage list is a waiting list. That like Brent would be first, and then if he died or got incapacitated, or then Vladimir Putin number 2 would be next, and then if something happened to him, then Matthew McConaughey number 3 would be next. I always thought you understood that is a waiting list, not a group sex or polygamy arrangement. You might say, well, why is God allowing polygamy with you in the millennium? I'm not sure. But we did ask him. So we were shocked at first. It's like, wow, so Jesus, you don't have a problem with me having more than one man on my marriage list, and you're even going to allow me to make love to them in the millennium? You got to understand something. In the millennium, I'm going to have a resurrection body. It's not my current weak, frail body. I personally don't think I would have the energy to make love to 100 men all at once. I think that making love to that many men would be so physically exhausting for me that it might put me in serious health jeopardy. It could even kill me. And another thing, it's very important for me to develop a spiritual, emotional, and intellectual bond with my men. And I can't do that in a group sex session. So you might say, but you've allowed Zach Knight and Rule 13 onto your marriage list. And yeah, but Zach gets most of his sexual needs met from Rule 13. And I don't have a problem with brain to brain group sex because that's not going to wear me out. You get it? You get it? But actual physical sex with 100 men at the same time, my vagina would be devastated, man. By the time, let's say I start off with Brent, I think some of these men on my marriage list have the crazy idea that I've got the physical stamina to make a group love to 100 men at the same time within an hour. Maybe some of these Jesuit women can do that because they're into violent sex and having blood and blue bukkake all over the place. But sorry, that is not my cup of tea. You said, well, all we want is a dip in and out, and that's it. What's wrong with you? We're not going to devastate you. Oh, come on, guys. You know what guys are like when they have sex. Once you get turned on, you're going to keep going until you're satisfied. Now, if I try to do that to 100 men, you're going to kill me. My vagina I'll probably need stitches. You got to understand that I'm not going to be in my millennial body. So, and besides that, even if you didn't kill me, for a woman, for most women, when they have sex with a man, unless they're after your pocketbook, they want to bond with the man. They want to have, they want to, they want to have, I get turned on by a man's mind, by his greatness of heart, having a great heart and a great soul. And I don't care how hot the guy looks. I don't care how rich and famous he is. If he doesn't have a hot heart and a hot mind, to me, he's not hot. In fact, I would even go this far. If the man was 50 pounds overweight, I'm serious, 50 pounds overweight, but he had a hot mind and a hot heart, I would think he was sexy. Yeah. But if he had muscles all over the place, and was rich and famous, but was like Viggo Mortensen. Now Viggo has to fake it because he doesn't really have a hot mind and a hot heart. So he's got to fake it and pretend like he's that way. And I think it's actually a complex with him because he knows he doesn't really have on the inside what's really hot for a woman. So he's got to fake it in order to get a woman interested in going to bed with him. And then once he lands the woman in bed, because he was making brain-to-brain love with me, faking like he was Brent. And once he lands me in bed and he tricks me into thinking he's Brent, then he'll say, see, she went to bed with me because I'm so hot and so rich and famous, so she likes rich men and celebrity men. Actually, Viggo, if you told me who you really were and you didn't fake and pretend like you were somebody else, I would have thought you were a dud in bed. It's, what's wrong with you, Viggo, that you've got to fake to be somebody else to turn a woman on in bedroom? Are you got some sort of an inferiority complex? And I say, what are you going off into this rant for? Because some men don't understand how they say, I can't believe that Jesus would expect me to have a missionary's income even after we get married. Hey, man, I'm a rich Hollywood celebrity. Did you know there are millions of girls that drool after me? Good. Go to them. Goodbye. You know why they're drooling after you? Because they worship you like an idol. Yeah, man. But once they marry you, and they learn that maybe all that money that you spend, you're not going to be spending on them, but on yourself, they might quit drooling on you after a while. They've got this idealistic image of their dream man, and you fit this image, and maybe you even like to believe you're that image. Maybe you have to lie to yourself about how hot you are because you're not that hot. You get it? So you might say, what are you making this video for? You guys, you're saying Jesus is mean. He's telling us to only spend money on food and bills. Why, man, I drive around in a Cadillac or Mercedes-Benz. I buy $2 million mansions, and you don't want me to do that for you, Gail? I don't give a flip about that. You could have a Mercedes-Benz. You could have $1 million cars. You could have a big fancy mansion. You know what that means? That means we've got to hire a housekeeper. What if the housekeeper turns out to be a Jesuit clone? It makes life complicated. And then the car. How much does it cost to maintain the car? Life is meant to be simple. The only thing that should matter is having love in your life. You're not going to take that fancy car. You're not going to take the big mansion with you to the next life. When you die, it doesn't go in the grave with you. Come on. What do you think? You think all these big houses and everything, you're going to take it with you to the next life? And you're mad at me because I don't worship that lifestyle? I want to be rich in the next life. And I want a man who feels like I do. You may say, well, we can spend money on more than food and bills. That's not fair. Well, you know why Jesus gave us that rule? Because let me tell you why. And this is especially a problem nowadays in the 21st century. Everybody's so consumer oriented. Let me give you an example from my own marriage. In my marriage, I was married to a man who had, I would call, lower middle class income, according to American standards. But in his view, he was poor. And he viewed people like Brent Spiner as the rich celebrity. He was jealous. He wanted to have their money. And you know what? Let me tell you what happened when I was married to him. We could have had all our needs met perfectly fine, but you know what he would do? He would go spend the money on boats. And he would say, oh, Gail, aren't you excited? We can go get this boat. And we can go out and go fishing all the time and go out. And I didn't really give a flip about the boat. But I thought, oh, that's his toy, so I guess it's all right. And he took me out fishing, and I sort of enjoyed it, but I really wasn't into boats, but he was into boats. And I guess because he was all excited about boats, he presumed I should be excited about boats. And it was kind of fun for a while. That is until I started realizing that some of our bills weren't being paid, or we were living super duper tight because he spent all that money on. And then you know what he would say to me? He says, we got a budget. We got a budget. We're really tight. We don't have enough money. I'm going to have to cut on, we're going to have to save on groceries. We're going to have to eat hamburgers. We're going to have to do this and that. And I thought, well, and I was thinking in the back of my mind, if he never bought the stinking boat, we wouldn't be so tight. So you say, you know why Jesus gave us this Gail commandment, you should only spend money on food and bills? Because he knows if he doesn't do that, that you're going to end up being like my ex. You're going to go spend money on boats. You say, oh, I wouldn't do that. Yeah, that's what you think. That's what you think. You ought to do just like Jesus said. Jesus said, make a list of everything that you've bought in the past 3 months, and anything that's other than food and bills, highlight it and ask yourself, why did you buy it? Did you need to buy it? You know what? The good thing about having that rule of only spending money on food and bills is it forces you to keep your priorities right. When you get all caught up and you start thinking, if I only had this, I'd be happy. Okay, so you get it. Then you think, oh, wow, now that I bought the boat, I need to get fishing line. I need to go get this. I need to go. Then you get that. And then you think, oh, my goodness, I can't meet my rent for this month. I don't have enough money. You dumbbell. The reason you don't have enough money is because you went and bought the boat, then you bought the fishing line, then you bought this and that, and you didn't need any of that stuff. And now you're going to make your wife suffer and make her scrimp by on poverty income because of your stupid boat. And then your credit rating is going to go down when you maybe don't have money for rent one month because you spent it all on the boat. That's why Jesus made those rules. Because he knows what we're like. We get caught up in this stuff, in this consumerism stuff. So you might say, well, I deserve to have sex with you. I thought being on your marriage list means I could have sex with you now. Yeah. Look, I don't have my resurrection body. And I can't get turned on or climax to a guy until I bonded to him. And I'm sorry if maybe you want to satisfy yourself, but you don't care if I'm satisfied. Okay? But, you're supposed to love your wife. I'm not your sex dummy. I'm not your, so any guy on my marriage list who doesn't understand that I can't get turned on with a guy unless he has a hot body, a hot mind, and a hot heart, you can go. I don't need you. And if you're mad because you think the Gail commandments are too restrictive and you're going to treat me like my ex-husband and go buy a boat and make me live in poverty while I scrimp while you go spend all your money on all your toys, goodbye. I don't need you. Okay? So quit complaining about the Gail commandments. Grow up and don't be a baby.